Perfect.
女士们、先生们，欢迎来到李世锋茶谈录。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a tea with Li. Today, with great honor and pleasure, we are having Capucine Li Aixin from France to share with us her story with yoga. We met each other in Bali 8 years ago, so time flies. And now here we are. And please, Capucine, share how and why you dive into the yoga world. How is the story started?
Thank you, Li, and it's really good to see you again. And definitely in 8 years, I have done a whole yoga journey. Actually, when we met, I thought I was already a teacher. I was just really starting. So it was interesting because we met in Bali. I had just finished my first teacher training. And I was qualified to teach. And when you think back about it, I was clearly not qualified to teach. So I was certified, but not qualified, to my own regard. But it's been really interesting. So we met at the moment where I was just coming back from Thailand, where I'd done the first yoga teacher training with the idea that I could explain to people better what I loved, because I didn't mean to be a teacher necessarily and to make my life around it. But I had a little bit of time in my life and work, which is around public health. And I had the possibility to go and spend these 3 months to really practice yoga. And I felt like I really wanted to be able not just to practice for me, but to explain to other people who ask me questions about it. And that's why I went into the teacher training. At first, I went into yoga because I had a ski injury. So I made a big jump in snowboard, fell, and my knee was pretty much destroyed. I went for 6 months of rehab, of seeing physiotherapist, and I felt like I wasn't progressing. It was very hard to move well again. And so I went by chance at my job in Geneva in global health. We had a yoga teacher called Lucinda, and we are still friends today. So it's great to have her. And I was going there, but without any conviction. I was like, I don't know about yoga. It sounds to me at the time, I imagine like some old Indian man with a short levitating. So I was like, oh, I don't think it's for me. But I still went. And when I was there, she was very good. She was doing Ashtanga. And she was strong, but she was soft. And I really liked her teaching. And it really helped me to start moving my knee again. I think the main difference was, compared to doing the yoga and the physiotherapy, is that it was my own body. And I could decide the strength. I could decide how far I would go. And I was really listening to my body more. Then there was a third party, like a physiotherapist, who was telling me what to do. So I felt that it was more empowering. And I really also, little by little, as my knee felt better, I noticed, because it was at work that I was doing it, how I was more relaxed. I was very, very focused too. So I realized it was very good for my focus and relaxation. And even though at the beginning it was very much I would say a body focused practice, it did bring that like sense of focus from what we call the drishti, which is where you're looking at, and the breath, the prana. So I kept delving more into it until that time became a teacher. But really was just the beginning of the story. Now, 8 years later, I know that. So it was an amazing journey for myself of self-healing and realizing little by little also how much awareness it gave me in my own body. So it had influence not only in my general health, but also how I'm feeling in my relationships, in my work, because I'm more able to listen to my own feelings and to my own sensation and intuition just by being more aware of my body. So it's a big difference. And today, like exactly a year ago, I was finished my training to be what's called a yoga therapist. So it's like a super senior yoga teacher where you really take an individual's approach to their whole health. So someone comes to you maybe with back pain, and you will spend some sessions just with them to design a practice just for them. So that's how I practice today.
Cool. And congratulations, you are the yoga therapist. It's quite a big thing in yoga, training, right?
It was a long training. It was really nice. It was a very interesting because I learned so much. The teachers in the yoga therapy training, they were all in their 70s. They're very senior teachers. And they were all very, not just senior in age, but really senior also in experience. They all also were common double training. Like there was a psychotherapist and also yoga therapist. Someone else was physiotherapist and yoga therapist. So the people who really understood all about the human being. And I've learned a lot through that process because multi-year, it was also a big challenge to finish it because it was in Australia and it was during the pandemic of COVID-19. And it was forbidden to travel there. So I had to have a big adventure to even finish it, but it taught me a lot of patience. And today I really enjoy that approach because it's more personal. Like yoga can bring different things to different people. I'm sure Kung Fu brings different things to different people. I'm sure Tai Chi brings different things to different people. And so while I'm really grateful for the standardized approach that we have learned and I started with in Ashtanga, today I'm really interested in a more personalized approach.
Cool. And by the way, your knee injury get healed? And for how long time it takes to heal your knee?
Very long, very long. Because actually it's not a healing, it's a journey. As you say, it's not like one day it was fixed and not everything was better. That would never be the case because it was actually a very serious injury. And sometimes in Western surgery, for instance, the surgeon was like, for him, in his hand, it was fixed because he had repaired the tissues that were broken and the bones that were broken. But in all reality, the whole trauma to the knee had effects all around my leg and also affects the brain because you're very still for a long time. So there was a lot more. And the memory of the pain, which I think is even more interesting. I actually think a lot of my struggle for rehab was linked to my memory of the pain, not a conscious memory, subconscious memory that made that my knee didn't want to move because it was not safe. And so I had to create a lot of trust in my body, a lot of strength for the knee to feel safe enough to move. And so it's, I would say it took maybe 6-7 years before it was as before. And even though that, it's never as before. You're a new person, you're a new body. It's a process of accepting, transforming, and healing. And now I'm skiing again. I'm skiing a lot. I've never skied as much, actually. I feel much more confident, but I know, I have a little weakness here and I need to care for it. And I will always care for it. And I have the good practice to care for it. But it's not like my surgeon was saying, it's fixed. It's not how the human body works. There's no miracles, I think, in the human body. There's a lot of work.
Definitely. I'm so glad that the training of yoga indeed helped you to heal it, to fix it. And now, I mean, as you mentioned, it's a journey of healing, and it's even giving you more than physical healing. So now you, by this, I mean, literal upside down, or up down, path, it makes you getting stronger, I suppose so, right? So it's amazing, yeah. I remember that. Go ahead.
I actually this year, for the first time, when I think about it, so my injury was now 15 years ago almost, and I went up the Mont Blanc, which is the top of Europe, the highest mountain. And it's amazing to think about that I was able to do it with no problem at all. And I actually felt really good. It was, of course, difficult, but it wasn't at all impossible. And I think that's yoga that helps me because all the way up, I was using yoga breath. And all the strengthening of my body throughout the years of healing for my injury had taken me there. When there were some very scary parts with crevasses and ice and rocks falling, I could focus and breathe and be okay with the challenge.
Wow. So now, I mean, for some years of yoga training, you're getting much more stronger physically and with greater self-confidence. So you mentioned that you ski more than ever. I mean, right? Even the ski was the activity which broken your leg, right? Okay, so you totally overcome it. I'm so happy about that. And also, so what is the altitude of the topest mountain in Europe?
It's 4,008 meters.
Okay, and you hiked to the top.
Yeah, 4,810.
And you hiked to the top.
Yeah, to the top.
Wow, okay. And you should bring me over to there. Okay, cool.
You should come. It's a beautiful place.
Definitely. I never, so so into hiking yet, but yeah, it's time to have a try. I did free diving, how many? 10 years ago. At this moment, after free diving, dive to bottom of the ocean, I would like to hike the topest mountain in the world, go to Nepal to hike, but yeah, I didn't, but who knows what will happen. Okay. Thank you for your wonderful story, how you overcome your injury by training yoga. So also that now mainly what kind of yoga you are training and you are teaching. So we met each other with Ashtanga yoga training. So what kind of style or kind of yoga you are working on right now?
I have changed a lot. I have to say I've changed a lot from Ashtanga. It's also, I think, an age thing with, when you get older, you probably have more relaxed practices because you're thinking really long term. And I know that Ashtanga is a very demanding practice on the body. And for me today, I don't need such a strong practice, also because I'm doing other activities like skiing that actually take a lot from my body. So when I do yoga, it's very much about really healing, strengthening, soothing more than anything else. So it's a little different practice. My main practice is Vini yoga right now. So it's Krishnamacharya, the father, if you want, of that practice. And, there were three main schools in the traditional Hatha yoga that has modernized yoga. There was Ashtanga with Patabi Joyce. There was Iyengar school. And there was Krishnamacharya with Vini school of yoga. So they're actually all Hatha, if you want, but they are very different. And Vini yoga is much more relaxed. It's also a lot about breath. There's also a lot of mantras. It's very inclusive of all the 8 limbs. You're looking at the niyamas and the yamas, how you behave with yourself, how you behave with other people, meditation, visualization. So it's way past the just physical yoga, if you want. You go into the whole scope of that. Yoga Nidra also sometimes. I really like Yoga Nidra. It's a guided meditation, if you want. And that's a beautiful way to explore a little bit your subconscious. It's a very nice practice. And there's a lot of body scans in that practice. So I really enjoy that. I also do a lot of Iyengar. When it comes to really alignment, is very precise. It's very, very, very precise. And I think once you know your body well, you want to be very precise. So you know each muscle of your body. So I'm enjoying that a lot. And the good also about Iyengar is that it's very quality controlled because there's one school in the world and they give all the degrees. Because the difference with that and the Vinyasa yoga, for instance, is that anyone can give a Vinyasa yoga teacher training, pretty much. I mean, there's something called the Yoga Alliance, but it's very basic. So it's not bad, but it's just the beginning. And when you go to Iyengar class anywhere in the world, the teacher has made at least 3 years of training. So they're good. And I advise people when they start to go with that because it's a quality they're going to find. And then they can decide if they like something different. But it's a good quality controlled way of doing yoga. So I think everyone goes there also with something different. Like I was looking when I was younger for more exercise. So Ashtanga was good. Today I'm less looking for that. I find this thing that we, as human beings, we tend to look for the things we need, but also for the things that are easy for us. So I went to Ashtanga because it was easy for me. But what I needed was maybe to be more relaxed, to be a bit more, lower tempo. And I noticed people who are very achieving and goal-oriented. They go to Ashtanga because it's the same way their brain works. I want to do more, faster, stronger. But often what they need is actually the way down. And the contrary is people who are, so with yoga therapy, we treat people with depression, for instance. We help them. And what these people need, where they're unable to move often, is actually bring a bit their heart rate up. But the last thing they want to do is to go to Ashtanga. But that's actually kind of what they need. So my role is to bring them up slowly to being able to be active enough. And in the contrary, someone who's very nervous will trying to bring them down a little bit to something more meditative. So that's where I am today. And it's I find it also very interesting for when I was I was living in Australia for a few years before coming back to France, and I supported people who have with addiction. And I think yoga is very good for people with addiction, because yoga helps you to feel your own self, to be within yourself, and to be at peace with yourself. And many people with addiction, they cannot stay with themselves.
Addiction is addiction. Some, for example, drug addiction. Like for example, I eat a lot of spicy. Maybe I have spicy food addiction. Could be
coffee.
Right?
Tea.
Yeah, and tea addiction. And okay. Cheers.
Santé.
Santé, right? Santé is French. Cheers, right? Okay. So, yeah, thank you for a wonderful story that about your yoga journey and your suggestion for the guys who are trying to be into the yoga world. So you mentioned that it could be, like, say, for the newbie, total newbie, they would like to try yoga. First, maybe they have to know what kind of yoga they would like to try, or what is their purpose. So you mentioned that the Iyengar yoga is quite precisely, right? Okay, it's a good way to get starting. Okay, so for me, just a little story to share. The story on me with yoga. So when I traveled to Suzhou, the eastern part of China, nearby Shanghai. So I went to a bookstore, and they store the book by weight, not by value of of the book, but by weight. So I bought a book, both English and Chinese. At the moment, I was learning English extremely hard. So it called The Autobiography of the Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda, right? So I read a little bit, I read a little bit, and I put it somewhere. And in 2017, when I had a crossover journey in the United States to give the Kungfu training and also the classical Chinese philosophy seminars, I visited a friend who is a yoga teacher as well in San Diego. So I stayed with her and for a while, and then one day I, just walking around, following up the beach in California, and I saw there is a tremendously beautiful temple with golden color, the lotus, style, and it was created by Paramahansa Yogananda. It's the Golden Lotus Temple. It's the World Meditation Center. I didn't even, imagine and expect, but yeah, it happened. And and I met some like Tim Miller, the gentleman who is quite a senior, instructor or master in Ashtanga yoga, and I had a training with him, and this is just some little story about me and the yoga.
Do you still practice today, Li? Do you still do a bit of yoga or not so much?
A tiny bit, just like sun salutation, something like this. A very short one, which I still remember how we practiced. Yeah. Okay. So, you also visited China years ago, right? So, what was your impression and how come?
Oh, you mean I went. Did you ask me Chennai or China?
China. You know, you
China?
was,
No,
yeah.
I didn't go. I didn't go in the end.
You
I
didn't
wanted
go.
to
Okay.
go. I never came. No. Because you know what's happening is that it's so big. Like I want to make such a nice trip that it's almost like I need 3 months. And you know, I
Yeah.
want to have the right perfect time. And it's this thing that you delay because I imagine I really want a lot of time and a good quality of travel. And I should probably do like you and just go because otherwise I will never do it. Of course, because I probably delay with also the imagination that, you know, it's never going to be enough because it's such a big country. But I would really like to come, and I probably should just do it now. I have a little bit more freedom, and you will need you to guide me to every place that I need to visit and give me some Tai Chi lessons. That's
Yeah. Definitely. And
Oh, and
another
have you
case
heard
is,
about
go ahead.
have you heard about Yin Yoga?
Of course, definitely. Yin yoga with some, Chinese martial arts. Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I
very
tried
interesting.
a few times I think in Bali, in yoga, and I read a little bit about how the founder of Yin Yoga, how he created. Actually, when you dive deeper, in all physical arts, no matter yoga or Pilates or some African or Brazilian dance, they are related with martial arts. Martial arts is like an invisible foundation for most of the physical activity. Why? Because think about millions of years ago, our ancestors, how they live. They have to walk, they have to run. But after walking and run, these two basics, what they have to do? They have to, no matter they want or they don't want, or they were aware of or not. So they have to train in martial arts because they have to fight with the animals, dealing with maybe the other groups, and then they do martial arts, and also when they celebrate, they show their emotions to like animals. It's kind of the basic or very raw martial arts. So and so what is your opinion on Yin Yoga, and what brings you this to Yin Yoga?
It's interesting what you say. I agree. It's a very good point because also capoeira as a foundation in martial arts. I like practicing it. I feel maybe the connection with the traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts is there. It's not necessarily the way it's being taught, it's not necessarily very clear, but I really like it. Personally, I feel when I go and I do a good session of yin yoga, I feel amazing. My body feels amazing. And I work with it, for instance, with the seasons and really align it with the principles of traditional Chinese medicine. So my practice will be oriented towards certain meridians and certain organs when I need, or based on my needs. And I find a lot of an energy in it, to be honest. It's I see that many people follow the classes. And it's very successful, for instance, in Austria and even in France. And I find interesting, it's like, men don't do a lot of yoga sometimes in the West. In France, very many women. But yin yoga attracts many men. Maybe it's just been martial art. But in my classes, when I teach yin yoga, mostly men attend yin yoga. I've always been curious about that because in other yoga classes, mostly women. So
cool. I didn't realize this. I think yin yoga is, is quite gentle and soft, right?
Okay. I think it's a way for men who are when I was in Australia in particular, my clients in the classes were men who were working outside, builders, gardeners, people who were working with their hands. They were very tired at the end of the day. And they needed that very quiet practice that was really deeply stretching their muscles and bringing some soft energy into them and recovery energy. So I think that's why.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, actually, nowadays in China, I mean, of course, the majority part of people who are training yoga are female, but more men, they are into yoga as well. So, and also, when I offering the Kung Fu training course, I share with them a little bit of my experience on yoga as well. So what I am doing now is sometimes I take some Kung Fu form, and we go really deep, and we hold this form with the breathing of Ashtanga yoga. For example, today with a friend whom I'm training yoga maybe for quite many years. She's a professional yoga teacher as well. So we trying to use our sword to keep a shape like yoga, but with our sword, and hold the pose and working on our breathing. Yeah, it brings us some fun. Also, it helps us, as you said, to go deeper of the relaxation and flexibility. Because with the breathing in and out, especially when we breathing out, we can sink down and down and down. So for me, it's very interesting. So this is somehow I'm training. I didn't really training yoga, but I'm training yoga by the way of slightly changing in Kung Fu, and yeah, so okay, so now you are building some like your own studio school. You mentioned in France, or how it goes, how you teach.
So I teach in different ways. I teach in different ways. I've got first, throughout the pandemic, we've started practicing online, and it's interesting because for some people we are still practicing online because they actually couldn't afford to come to a studio, maybe if they have families and children, so that we have continued to doing that because for them it's a lot to go to a place. And I find that there's some interesting way that people have created groups, that also groups of friendships in the end that have continued. So I keep doing that just once a week for that group that has really kind of lived that together. And then I have people from all over the world is great, like joining from Australia to France to the US to the same class. I love it. And then I am also working in a studio in my mountains. So there's lots of people there who do a lot of sports. So yoga is really good for them on the complement to snowboarding, skiing, running, mountaineering. It's a very sports intensive place, the mountains. And so I work in a studio, and then I also offer this yoga therapy session on one-on-one. And now we are starting a project with some friends where we are going to build a co-living, co-working, co-yogaing space. So we'll have apartments in a beautiful mountain area with some yoga room, with a sauna. And then people can come and take classes there. And that's why we're building. But it's not yet built. It's like in the project state, but really looking forward to that because there is really an energy in the place that we are, which is very natural in these very spectacular mountains. So that really help for the practice of yoga. In a way, you can create very good habits when you're there easily because, every morning I wake up, I make my cup of tea. I look at the mountains ahead of me. And I look at my mat and I don't have to make an effort to practice. It's just the beauty of the world takes me there. I have no effort to do. And I think I really like if people can have the same experience as me, because it's a very, it's a life where you can enter in a calm rhythm, and just the beauty of the world makes you want to practice yoga.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, and I hope that you you can have excellent work, and for sure you will have excellent work with your project. And here the last I would like to share a little story with all the guys who are watching us. That so in 2020, the very beginning of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic happened. I visited, I had a crossover Europe journey from the North Europe down to the South. And when I visited France, Paris or France, you were not over there, and we didn't really have a chance to meet up. But you took even though you took great care of me, you introduced me to your friend Julia, right? And so I stayed in Julia's apartment, and Julia had to work in Switzerland. So, but yeah, I had an amazing day with Julia's cat. So for 1 week, and so I really appreciate her, and I didn't really have a chance to say it out, but now I say it for all of you guys. So by this tiny bit story, you can see that our friend Capucine Li Aixin, she's a trustful and very beloved friend. So, and I'm certainly sure that your yoga is very like trustful, and definitely will help a lot of guys who, no matter you are the newbie of yoga or you are experienced ones, welcome to contact with Capucine for the great yoga journey, and for no matter what kind of reason to be healed or to start a new way of life, or to try some yoga class, whatever. And thank you for your great sharing today, and I'm certainly looking forward to share with you about China, and to give you as good as what you did for me, the hospitality in China.
Thank you, Li. I look forward to that. I really would like that. So I will plan that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, so guys, how to say goodbye in French? I forgot.
Au revoir.
Au
revoir.
Au revoir. Okay. Au revoir. Okay.
Au revoir, Li.
Au revoir. Okay.
Goodbye.
再见. Okay.